In this lesson, we're going to sculpt out the high poly detail in ZBrush. Alright, so we're finished with our high poly model, and now what we want to do is we want to add just some fine detail to things like the handle on this, and I'm going to show you how to do that. If you want to take other pieces in, you want to start working on those, you can do that in your own time, but we're just going to focus in on the workflow right here inside with the handle first. So let's go ahead and just take one of these handles. And before we actually do anything with this handle, we want to make sure that we set this to unique, so that way it's not an instance. And then I also want to turn off this isoline display. Okay, now it's going to be a really high poly. If you want to bring that in to ZBrush at a lower resolution like this, you're more than welcome to do so, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to bring it in at this level here. So with just this object selected, let's go ahead and go to File, and we're going to export that, and we'll export selected. And then we're going to just put this right inside of our export folder. You can go ahead and you can put it somewhere else if you like, but you can find it right here in the 3ds Max files, and then export folder. Okay, let's go ahead and give it a name. We're going to call this HP_handle, and then we're going to export this out as an OBJ file. Okay, now with that, let's go ahead and save, and it's going to bring up our options here. For some reason, we got a little bit of a graphical error, but that's okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set my preset here to ZBrush, so make sure that you have that set, and then just simply hit export. Okay, once that goes through, that's all done. We'll hit OK on that, and then we're going to bring that into ZBrush. So here over in ZBrush, what we'll do is we'll just simply go to Import, and then we're going to go to that file, so let's go ahead and find it. Alright, so we're in the project files, 3ds Max files, and you'll see export. There's our HP_handle. Let's hit open on that, and then we'll just simply draw that into the scene. Okay, so draw it in. Let's try to draw it in straight up here. And then with that set, let's go ahead and go to edit mode, and then let's hold shift and left click and drag to start rotating that around so we can see that easier. Okay, so now at this point I'm going to be using a Wacom tablet to start working on this, but you'll notice that even though we've brought that in at that higher resolution, we do have that resolution there, but we don't have enough. So what we'll do is we'll just simply start adding some resolution. Now the reason that I bring it in at such a high resolution is because whenever I smooth it inside of ZBrush, it's not going to lose much volume. So let's go ahead and hit Control D to subdivide that, and let's do it a few times here. If it helps, you can hit Shift F to see your poly frame, just kind of see what that looks like. Take a look at the density on that. That's pretty good. Let's do one more. Let's hit Shift F on that, and then we'll hit Control D to duplicate that again. Alright, so now we're ready to come in and start mawing this up a little bit, give it that wood pattern. And so I'm going to come over here. I'm going to use my standard brush. But instead of using dots, let's use drag rect, and let's choose the alpha that we want to use for this. So the alpha that I'm going to use on this is going to be this alpha 2, and it's kind of this wood grain type of look here. And so let's go ahead and hold down Alt, and then we're going to left click and drag that out. And you'll see that this starts to give us this really heavy indentation there, and that's not something that I want. So my strength is just way too high, so let's turn down our Z intensity. Let's go to something like 10, and we'll test that out. So hold down Alt, drag that in. You'll see that that looks a little bit better. Okay, I don't want to go quite as high on that. We're going to create some wood grain striations to this, but we don't want to go real large like this. Okay, we want to keep it somewhere around here where we could definitely see that detail, but we don't want to overpower the surface of the handle. Okay, so we're trying to stay with the same striation. Notice that the grain is coming up into this like so, and we want this handle to look old. Okay, and so this kind of detail we can't get using 3ds Max. So we bring it into something like ZBrush or Mudbox, whatever you want to use, and then we'll just start to add that fine detail in. Now I'm holding down Alt whenever I drag this out because I want it to push down into it. I don't want to lift it up because I find that whenever you lift or you're adding that geometry back to it, it can create kind of these bubbles. And I find that pushing it in with this alpha in particular, it seems to work a lot better. And I want to make sure that I take these striations across on the bottom here. Let's make sure we get all of those. Okay, so we look pretty good. We may want to take a look at our top of this here. So create a couple of those right along the top there. Alright, so now we've got that fine detail in there. Now what I want to do is I want to create the grip pattern that's on it. And so first thing that I'm going to do that is I need to basically mask off the areas that I don't want to affect. Okay, and then we'll bring in an alpha or a texture, and we'll use that texture to create this diamond pattern on our grip. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do that in our next lesson.